Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day is for you to watch this or listen, right? Yes, or listen, because you may have some listeners out there. Yes, they may, Ronald Reagan. I doubt it, but if you're thinking you're on the radio, well then perhaps. I could be on the radio. Son of a bitch. Now why didn't I think of that before? Cause you're lame ass. That's not nice, Ronnie. Fuck him. Really, Ronnie? Fuck me? Hey, you don't know how desperate I am. I'll fuck you. Because you're dead, right? Oh, yeah. Okay. Perhaps I was wrong about you. Perhaps you were. And bend over. Get those your ankles. Spread them. And oh my god. What did I say? It's your asshole. Welcome to my hard, stiff. Where'd it go? You're dead. Oh yeah. Sorry. Poop her up. Yeah, get the fucking. So much for a monologue. Well, that would work. Or it has to now. It's going to be part of the show. It's what was written. It's what I made up. You're made up. Ray's made up. George. Sorry, buddy. You're made up. Gonna backtalk me like that? Shame on you. I don't know exactly how you say in your country, but alright. I'm saying as everybody else in your country. How nice. Welcome to the show, everyone. You're watching the Good Morning Show on the air in the studio with Scottie and those other people. George, Ronald Reagan, myself, Carl, yes. Would be those other people. Until we leave and then Scottie's on his own, sorry. Until we leave. I have to go jizz in my jeans. I don't know about anybody else. Okay, well. Never stopped you to do it here. Ow. Okay. Not now. Wait 30 seconds. Okay. I'm waiting. There I go, farting again. Best farter ever. I mean, father. I have, I have that cup. But here's the cup I'm using right now. AC/DC, Back in Black. I love that album. And Power Up. Two of their best albums. And everything else is just gravy. I'm not including the Bon Scott era. He may be a wonderful singer. He may do this. He may do that with the band. Just I know very little about Bon Scott other than the few songs I've heard. Now, the original song that I heard was the original Highway to Hell, with Bon Scott singing, and from that album, Highway to Hell. Then, for Christmas, I believe I got Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. I believe is the name of that album. I don't think I ever had High Voltage. And I don't think I had any other album other than Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, and eventually I got Highway to Hell, and that's all I know from Bon Scott. That's all I've ever known. I mean, he's a good singer, yes, but I know more about Brian Johnson. And that, I'm not saying taking anything away from Bon Scott at all. I'm glad he was part of the band. I can't say much about being a fan of his drinking habit and how he died, and that's truly unfortunate that happened. And I can understand why Back in Black would be a tribute album to him. I mean, it's within just a few months of his death that they have Brian Johnson and the release of Back in Black. Oh my God. Anyway, so anyway, I'm not taking anything away from Bon Scott. I'm thrilled that he was part of the band. And I should probably listen to all of his albums so I would know exactly what kind of music he's responsible for. And go from there. Now, in the meantime, as I said, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap and the song Highway to Hell were the first I heard of AC/DC, and just Highway to Hell, I was so thrilled with that one. They actually, in a group session for my therapy, because I'm seeing a psychiatrist and going to a specific group that that I've known about. And this was in 1979, I suppose. This is not long after the album came out. Highway to Hell, I mean. Someone had introduced me to the song. It was in the group that particular group I was in. I don't remember his name. I think it was Jeff something. Jeff. The name that's coming to my head. Could be wrong. Could be somebody else. But he was other than the females of the group, which were, the ones that were leading the sessions. In particularly Gail. I don't remember what her last name was, but anyway, Jeff had introduced me to the song Highway to Hell. It's a great song. He was a listener of AC/DC and had all the other albums, I believe. And this was obviously before his death. Which I didn't even know he had died until after, several months after. Thank you. Several months after, I'd heard and purchased the album and the cassette of Back in Black. And I believe For Those About to Rock had been released as well. Before I even knew about Bon Scott's death, I just knew that it was a different singer. I didn't know what happened. I mean, things happen all the time. People leave the band. And from interviews I've heard about Bon Scott, number one, he had been introduced to Brian in the early 70s um, when he was with another band, and they were on. Brian Johnson was on stage and was having some kind of severe pain, and collapsed on the stage and was screaming and all that. And just Bon Scott told him, "Wow, he's a pretty good singer," because he was apparently still trying to sing through that pain. Brian, I mean. And Bon Scott was impressed with that. And he had mentioned to AC/DC once he was in the band about that experience, and that they should somehow or another get to know the guy as a possible replacement, because apparently Bon Scott was considering leaving because he was done with the party, he was done with the drinking and all that, but you know, and his death was tragic, yes. And I think the official cause of death was alcohol poisoning or something like that. But anyway, the basically as I said, I'm not taking away from Bon Scott. I know he's a good singer. I don't know everything that he's done with AC/DC before he died. I know about Hell's Bells and Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap because I had that album for a while at some point. And I believe it was sometime during the 80s because I remember being in my room, small room, well, not small, but I was in the middle room at the time. Moved over to this next room. But I believe I was in the middle room. This is where I started in our new house in 1980 when we as a family moved out there to J Drive. Way far north of Anderson, Indiana. So I remember being on the floor, going through and listening to that album. And at the time, they had where they printed the words of the songs, all the songs, onto the sleeve that the actual album was contained in. And going through the words and listening to the songs. And I was very impressed with what I was hearing. Good for you. Yes, very good for me. But that experience aside, all I know about AC/DC, for the most part, other than that experience, is the Brian Johnson era, which was the release of Back in Black, July 25th. I don't think I went out to purchase it on that date. But I know it was shortly after that I did this at grandmother's house. Went over to Mounds Mall and went to Musicland and purchased the album. The next day, I went back and purchased the cassette. So I have a cassette player. I mean, my God. I have the album, and I'm not going to get a cassette. Well, you can use a blank tape and record it and all that and shit. Make your own Back in Black tape. No, I want the original recordings, which means I have to purchase it again. Well, and I did. So, and that was the day after I purchased the album. I said that, I believe. So, anyway. Now, I went to Kmart, which was right next to Marsh. I ended up working at Marsh at some point, but that was after my high school years and all that. So, but before that, I mean, Kmart was still open. Obviously, it was still open. I bought the AC/DC For Those About to Rock album there, and the cassette. I was gonna, and those I purchased together. But I listened mostly to the album because my current tape recorder player was having issues. I knew that would last long. I probably got the replacement for Christmas, but that's beside the point. I I knew I wouldn't be without a cassette player for too long, so there you go. And in the meantime, I believe Ron let me use his tape recorder. And here's a fun fun fact. During my high school years, I was grounded more than once because of bad grades. You're grounded. You should do better than that in school. I'm doing my best. You said, and this is an argument I didn't win, probably because I didn't have it with her at the time. Just a thought process. And this was after I graduated, obviously. But because I told her, I was very upset with the fact that you grounded me for my grades, and obviously, I was doing the best I can. Well, that sucks. I mean, that was my worst part. Really, I mean, come on. That really did me in. Science, social studies. I think I did pretty good in choir. I generally ended up getting C's. Maybe a D. My first try in choir, but after that it was generally C's. I don't think I ever got an A. Maybe a B minus. I'm not sure, but anyway. A, B's, C's, and D's, and F's were standard, and at some point they just said A plus, A minus. A's isn't good enough anymore. Barely not. Anyway, because what threw me about that, and I can't believe I'm bringing this up. I can't. This is fun for me. And me. Yes. They're all amused by it. Okay, alright, fine. Now if I can get to the story, I don't even remember what the story was going to be. Anyway. Just a moment. I have to reheat my coffee. It's reheated, as far as I know. I'll know more as of this next sip. Yep. Get more creamer. Now, where was I? You're going to say something about something. Yeah, I know. I just don't remember what at this point. Good stuff. Good coffee. Oh, yes, I remember now. This is after I graduated. I actually had a conversation with my mother about I was out of high school and graduated, and this is during the summer break after high school. Yes, white man. I still pooped. Why would he ask that? Of course I still pooped. Anyway. I told her I was kind of upset that I think this was in the first couple of weeks of having graduated, because she could tell that I was upset about something, and she asked me, "What is it, son? Tell me. I'm your mother. You can tell me anything." I've heard that before, and many times, even from my grandmother. And Aunt Carol. She may as well be was in that era as well. I'm sure, and thank you. But my point is, I had talked to her, and I told her I was still kind of upset. About what? Said that you would ground me over my grades. You're not grounding me now because I'm done with high school. If I had another year, you'd probably ground me for the entire summer and I would be screwed. I said, yeah, probably. But you're done with high school. It's over. So why are you still upset over being grounded. Because you told me, as long as I do my best, everything's going to be alright. But you grounded me every time which was quite a bit. Just being honest here, okay? All 4 years she did this at least once. At least once, she would feel the need to ground me to my room. No music, no telephone, no this, no that. Can't go over to grandma's. Can't go over. Do this or that. I am fucking grounded. But I'm doing my best. Do you not realize this? I'm doing my best. You're helping me with my homework. But yet, these are the results. These are my grades. Why am I being grounded if I'm doing my best? So I hadn't thought about it like that. Said, well, yeah, you should have. And at that point, I just walked away. Because I was very upset at that point. She let me cool off a little bit. And the next day, before she went to work, she actually woke me up and went out there to have breakfast. And she told me, yeah, it was unfair that I grounded you when you were clearly doing your best. It's not your fault. And I guess part of the reason why I grounded you is because I couldn't ground myself. Because I was at a point where I didn't know what else to do. So my response was, I can't ground myself for feeling like this. I'm going to ground you because that's me doing something about it. And I'm sorry, it was unfair to do that. And she cried and I cried and we bonded again. Everything was cheery and rosy after that. But it took that long to get this resolved. After it was resolved and I was happy with her answer, I said, this is the day that it happened. Because okay. I'm done with school. I have this Mom and I bonded over the fact that I felt bad about being grounded during school. All 4 years. Um, so now this is now this is this is this is the day that I came out on my shell. After that conversation. I thought, well, okay. Now I can now that this has happened, I'm resolved from this. I feel good about the results. So I can now concentrate on finding myself. What who I am after graduating high school. And everyone was up at this point for the day. They didn't have anything better to do. So they were up. They had their sleep. They were up. Kids, and my sister, brother, and Lenora, Gwen, and Rachel, Ron's kids, girls. Um, I had to find myself. And I was going around in circles saying, who am I now? Who am I exactly? I'm a happy person, generally, and I knew that. And my response was, fuck yeah, I'm free. Free from high school. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff anymore. I'm as free as I can be. And my response to feeling like that and making that statement to myself out loud, my response was to play AC/DC, You Shook Me All Night Long, for a couple hours. And I did. Why are you playing the same song? Because this is how good I feel. It's a great, not only is it a great album, it's a great song. And as Brian Johnson had said, on more than one occasion, I know this now because I've seen interviews where he said this more than once, that after recording and hearing the results of not only the entire album Back in Black, but in particularly that song. And he knew Brian Johnson knew before the album, and he said this before the album was even released. He had come to the conclusion that this was one of the best, just all out, balls to the wall, good ass rock and roll records he's ever heard. Ever. And to this day, it's still his favorite song. He will go on stage. Everywhere he goes on stage, he just he'll do that song. He did it with Billy Joel. I'm not sure about Elton John. I don't know if he's done anything with Elton John. Made an appearance in one of his shows. Rick Astley, I think. From this place and that place. On the Howard Stern show. More than once, he's done that. There's even an unplugged version where he does that song. And it's on YouTube. Look it up. And just so that's my song, because that helped release me into who I am today. That song from that album. And that means everything to me. And my other characters aside, it's just me, Scotty. I'm talking to you now. No Boob, no Carl, no Black Man. Well, I'm not saying he won't make an appearance, but if he makes an appearance, fine. Anyway, my name is Kenneth Scott Roadcap, Rodecap. For those of you who don't know how to spell it, there you go. And I do so declare that, yeah, I might be a little unnerving at times. I might get on a few nerves. I mean, come across to most people as the most appropriate person, particularly with my language habit, the way I curse and cuss and things like that. But yeah, fuck the dumb shit. Here I am. It's who I am. And even the invention of funky stuff in 1992 in October on Broadway in my apartment. The debut of funky stuff this before I started doing Ronald Reagan and John Wayne, and eventually Bob, and then Boo, and this character and that character, and, just all the characters that I've done to this point. Totally beside the point. I am who I am because of that song, because of that album. A few years after it's, released, yeah, but I knew about the song, obviously. I had the album, I had the cassette. So I had to replace this cassette more than once. I played it a lot. But anyway, not only the entire album, yes, but particularly that song. I knew who I was. I care about people. I love everyone. I always have a smile on my face. And even I remember there'd been a couple of times, more than once, even my mother had asked me this. Are you alright, son? You're not smiling. Oh, yeah. I'm fine. I'm just deep in thought, or my mind's somewhere else. Probably being dirty at this point because, I'm not in high school. I can think about I can masturbate anytime I want. Didn't tell my mom that, but I was fine. I had even thought about telling my grandmother about this. So I said, Mom, I'm getting on the bike and I'm going to Grandma's for a bit. I don't know if I'm going to stay the night, but I just want to see her. Okay. Call me one way or the other. You know what you're going to do. I said, fine, yeah, of course I will. And I did. I don't remember if I said that line or not. But I called my mother because that's what I said I would do. Now, regardless of whether I did or whether I didn't stay, was the conversation that I had with my grandmother and that consisted of a trip to Gene's to get hot dogs for us. I had 10. I rode my bike there and back, so that way I couldn't eat on the way back, because I couldn't eat a hot dog. Bounced the sack and continued to ride back to Grandma's house. If I can't wait a few more minutes to get a hot dog in my mouth, I don't need to be on my bike. Fine, fuck it, I can walk. But, oh, well, never mind, I'm at Grandma's. Hey! You need it back. So, anyway. I don't remember our conversation other than she was happy that I was happy, and I said to her, I'm coming out of my shell. Will it bother you if I curse around you? And I actually use it. I didn't know about the term adult language other than what I saw on HBO. I know that they call it adult language because that's a lot of the movies and programs that they show. The language is part of the description on everything. And I understand the need for that. They want to inform the people what they're going to be seeing, and it contains adult language and violence, nudity, which is whatever. Adult humor. But no, she was happy that I was happy, and we celebrated with hot dogs, and then before I left, she gave me money for pizza. Really? Yay! Anyway. A couple of years after that, I ended up getting my first apartment in late 89, I think. No, 98. Or, I'm sorry, 88. So, here I am, tennis sky road cap, happy as can be. Now a stroke survivor, 10 years under my belt. Here's to another 10 more. Need to heat that up. But, I knew who I was. I knew what I was about. I'm a happy-go-lucky guy, dirty-minded. I masturbate quite a bit. And then I just toned it down. I realized that I didn't need to do it all the time, every day, so I would pace myself. I would wait to the last possible moment to where I couldn't take it anymore. And in the morning, usually on a day off, say, okay, it's time for me to masturbate. And I did. Several times in one day, and then I was done. Felt better, felt good, felt happy. And this was in between lays, okay? I was getting laid on a regular basis from a few ladies, but not nearly enough to where, I was thrilled with what I had to deal with. But let's see, even at $24, $25, whatever I was when I moved into the apartment on East 4th Street, I knew who I was, happy-go-lucky. I'm still the same person then as I am now. The only exception is I'm a stroke survivor. Because I had an ischemic stroke on July 8th, 2013. And I survived, happily. I had to learn to walk again. Had to learn to talk again. Had to learn to climb stairs. Thank God there wasn't a flying lesson somewhere in there, but anyway. I am who I am, and it's a good morning. On the Good Morning Show, for Boob, Ronald Reagan, George, Carl, every other character that I've created. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And I'll see you next time, everyone. Bye-bye now. Take care. And please, enjoy your coffee. I really need to heat this up. Anyway, see you soon, alright? Bye-bye now.